We're live. We're live.
Right.
Hello, and welcome to a little show we like to call How Did You Get There? A show where we can consider thoughts, ideas, opinions, and beliefs so that we might be critical of those things, but not necessarily the people that hold them.
Yeah, so these thoughts that we are considering and positing are ours, but maybe.
Maybe.
But probably, but not necessarily Jess FM, Jess TV, anyone else in the world named Jess, you, anybody that's affiliated with this station, yeah, it's us. We're saying the thing. If you want to hold somebody to account, you can hold us to account for it.
I am not an accountant, but I am accountable.
One bull, two bull. I'm accountable.
So yeah,
Why are we here today? Why did you choose to come here today?
why did I choose to come here today? Well, so I
did you?
I sometimes watch. Well, I was gonna just give that part away.
Okay.
As just the thing it is. Many people that hold theological belief systems tend to believe that free will is a crucial component. You have chosen to believe or chosen to not believe in X, Y, Z. And it's important that you be allowed to make these choices so that your eternal consequences are measured fairly because they were your actions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good talk. And we'll be back in 2 weeks. No.
And then, in that same vein, it is posited that if you are successful in your mortal life, you might be in a heavenly place.
The correct answer was the Mormons.
I posted that video. And that you would still have free will, but you would choose not to.
Okay.
Which implies free will with a built-in moral infallibility. So then I thought, why can't we have that now? So I would be positing or questioning, I guess. Why would we want free will versus moral infallibility?
Ooh. Yeah. So Ooh. So just a little question today.
I want to just throw a couple things out there first. One, for the purposes of this discussion, I will assume that free will is a thing. And I mean that in its truest sense, like at some point before you were born, you choose where to be.
That would presuppose that I existed before I existed. So I'm not willing to buy that.
But to
I'm
that level of every choice that could be made, you can make.
At the point that I could make choices, any choice I make is mine, and I could have chosen anything at that point.
Yes. I understand what in my brain, no.
But that's not a choice you can make.
True. So,
right?
But
any choice you could make freely to choose any of its options.
I could choose that. It's just not a thing that would happen. Doesn't mean I can't choose it.
I think that actually creates as a different kind of thing.
Okay. Fair enough.
If I am walking down the street and I approach an intersection, I could keep walking, or I could pause and wait to see if traffic, or I could walk halfway in. Like those are choices.
What if your choice is to make traffic stop?
But I can't do that. That's not something I can do. So it's not a choice. I can't choose for something else to happen. I can't choose for someone else to happen.
Your choices are limited by physics, as an example.
Well, by example, yeah. Like I can't choose to not weigh anything.
That's true.
Right? That is something that I cannot choose. And I don't think that anyone who's calling for free will says that I can literally choose to have the ability to fly without wings.
No.
Right?
But that's just the next step of free will. Like if I will myself to float,
Yeah, but that's
but I can't.
but that is beyond. I think that is fairly beyond the scope of what anyone,
Very good.
even even many unreasonable people would say is beyond the scope
How
of free
about
will.
be a millionaire?
Right. So, Choi, that is a thing you could do. Like, it is possible for you to be a millionaire. Like, that is a thing that you could do. It might not be. You can't. You won't be a millionaire just by saying
No,
I
no,
choose.
no.
to
I'm
be
not
a
saying
millionaire."
I've willed myself into millionaire-ness,
But
but I
But
could
that
make a
choice,
choice
that
to
free
do the
choice.
things to try and become one.
it is not. I don't believe it to be the case that only people who are destined to be millionaires get to be millionaires.
Correct. Fair.
Right. So
Yeah.
So free will versus predestination is really, I think, what we're talking about. And
Well, that as well.
I mean,
well.
I think they are flip sides of the same coin. And I mean
Kind of.
predestination in the general sense, not the strictly theological sense.
Yes. Yeah.
Predetermination.
Yeah, God. It's not so much that God has a plan for you. It's just that.
God has a plan for you, and you have a choice. Do you or do you not have a choice to follow God's plan? I think I think where free will comes in.
I think that's why it's important in that context.
In that context,
Right.
So,
but then
in my
you could make all those other choices, but still, be morally infallible. You know that option's there. You could take it, but you wouldn't. Like, you just wouldn't.
Yeah, and my take on moral infallibility is even more probably more strict. I don't know, it's the right kind of strict,
Mm-hmm.
but moral infallibility kind of implies like in terms of ethical relativism.
Just checking. Check.
Moral infallibility kind of from an ethical relativist perspective means that any choice that I make is for me the choice that I choose to be right.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm a serial killer, and I mean like one after the other, not a bowl of,
Mm-hmm.
and I do that because I believe that to be the right action.
Mm-hmm.
I'm right.
Yeah, so when I say moral infallibility, I mean the accepted normal moral outlook as described by the same theological people that describe the importance of free will.
So you're saying if I can somehow suss out and choose the correct rules, I would just always choose to follow the correct rules.
Yes. You would be sinless even though you knew the option existed.
Because I have not chosen the contrary option.
Right? And it's not that you can't, it's just you wouldn't.
Right. Okay.
Right? And so, but apparently, that would specifically go against the free will.
Well, I think it actually supports free will.
So I bring it up.
I will claim that the notion that you could be aware of a right and a wrong choice, and you could have chosen the wrong choice, but you wouldn't.
Yeah.
Right? But you still, the option was there,
Mm-hmm.
but for whatever reason, you declined to not do the thing. So I think that you can have free will in a non-eternal sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do I turn left at this corner, or do I go up for a block and then turn left?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's free will,
Mm-hmm.
but it's I'll say morally agnostic.
Yeah.
Right? Or morally.
I mean, yeah.
Morally.
Pending other circumstances, it's inert morally.
Morally inert. That's the word I was looking for. But if I could turn left here, or I could go up a block where I see somebody is struggling in pain.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking if you take the first left, you're plowing through the protests, and you could take the second left and go down the clear street. Yeah,
I was kind of trying to same thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in many regards, it's could be considered the same kind of thing. Do I do damage by turning left here, or do I carry on straight? Or in my case, do I avoid helping
Mm-hmm.
by turning left now,
Yeah.
or go straight and put myself in a position where I would be close enough to reasonably be required to assist.
At least in Quebec,
Yeah.
where you're legally required to assist.
Actually, many places you're legally required to assist,
Alberta, no.
unless you're a paramedic,
Well,
or
yes.
if you're a
Unless you're a
healthcare
trained
if you're a
professional.
healthcare professional.
A certified healthcare professional, except for first aiders, they're exempt.
Yeah.
It's an option. I would, just so you know, I'm a first aider. I would help. I'm just saying.
Yeah. So
But that's
those. So then we start straying into the ethics of the situation, and people are free to choose,
mm-hmm,
and people do freely choose. There are people who will avoid a course of action so they don't have to help.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
There are people who will take a course of action because they're pissed off at something.
Mm-hmm.
So they will make a generally considered morally unsupportable choice.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that moral infallibility in that regard is actually a thing, right?
Gotcha.
To that degree, the only way you could get to the infallibility would be to say that they have looked at all the things and they're conforming to God's bigger plan or whatever.
Basically, like
Right, so everything that I choose, I've chosen to follow somebody else's plan.
so. For the extension of this, yet, in heaven, I am
Okay.
told, free will does exist,
Okay.
but you would not sin. You could, and there's evidence of people rebelling in heaven, or at least angels rebelling in heaven. So it's not that free will doesn't exist there in this context, but people that are in heaven would not choose to sin. So although you could lie now, a sin, you would choose not to.
Right.
And so would that be better in our mortal lives and not just our afterlives?
Citizens of 1950s Soviet Russia
Mm-hmm.
could choose to speak out publicly against their government,
Yes,
but they wouldn't.
exactly. But I mean,
They had the choice. It was a free choice. They freely chose to not do the thing.
right.
How free is a choice under duress?
The choice is still free.
Yeah.
The consequences are the cost.
Right, but do the consequences change your balance of whether to exercise your free choice?
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
So that's
Sure,
what I mean about
you
the
can
free...
vote. You can vote for this guy, if you'd like to. You can vote for that guy. We won't stop you. We'll even count your vote for him. But as soon as you leave the polling booth, we're going to shoot you in the head.
Yeah.
So, choice is yours.
Choice is yours. I would show my support,
Right, and that's you.
but I get.
But
where
how
that
free?
might
But how
dissuade-
free does that become a choice?
Well, that's exactly the case to be
If you do
made.
this thing, you and your next 7 generations after you will suffer terrible, terrible things if you make this choice today.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you going to choose? You're going to choose to punish yourself and your next 7 generations.
If I could care about them.
Or if topic for a different day, you know where I stand on that.
We're just feeding back to a different topic. That's all.
So
Previous topic.
So sure, you can follow the plan.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So I think that's sort of how the freedom protests are designed. They feel that they don't have a choice because of the consequences of their non-predominant choosing, right? If they make the minority choice and they choose not to get vaccinated, there are consequences to that action.
Yep.
So did they have? So yes.
Did they have a true and fair free choice?
Yes. Right. So by that same circumstance, right? So.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean.
I still claim yes. But,
yes, but same with vote for this guy gets shot, and every third child from every seven for the next 7 generations gets shot because I voted this way. It's the same. it is the same as choosing to not be vaccinated and not being allowed to go on vacation. Totally the same.
Let's claim, for the purposes of today's argument, let's claim that that's a thing.
Those are parallels for sure. But
Yeah.
so that's the case. But if we go all the way with, there would be the moral infallibility by the larger social group as opposed to individual, which I think is basically how morals work, is some emotion. Ooh, that makes me feel terrible. It's bad. That's how I think they work. Just playing with the idea. But if everyone had this, that wouldn't have been a thing. No one would threaten the gun to the head because you're ending someone's life, which is an immoral action, right? So then, right? So if everyone was that way, I mean, make voting really easy. You vote for the guy that says the thing he's going to do, and you like that thing. He's going to do that thing because that's what he said he was going to do. She, don't care.
He, she, it, they.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it makes me, all of this makes me think of the Jesus myth, where there's a character in that story named Judas who chooses damnation for all time so that Jesus could be betrayed and pay for all our sins. Right. So,
but he was told he was going to.
So did he still have a choice at that point?
No, it was.
So who told him?
I mean, it was a plan. It was fate. He was destined to do it.
So he could not have made any other choice.
That is correct, in my opinion of the story.
So since he had no choice but to do the thing, and it was part of the greater plan, under the guidance of right, he had no choice. He had no choice.
In the same situation,
he was morally obliged to do the thing.
There was a time when a bunch of oppressed Jews attempted to flee Egypt.
Yep.
And Pharaoh was like, "Yeah, I'm done. Let them go." But God had this other plan. He's like, "I'm going to school these people." So he hardened Pharaoh's heart. And by that I mean took away his will, and so then
he's going to harden their heart.
Yes,
he's going to swallow his tears.
So then, yeah, he changed his mind because God made him change his mind. Because God thinks free will is really important, so that we could choose to love Him. But when you choose to just let people go free, He's not good with that. For example, you might have been like a certain king, and you were told, when you take that city, kill everything inside of that city. But like, because you're thinking, God doesn't really do the genocide thing.
Not really.
Other than Noah's
except for
flood.
all the times.
Except for Noah's flood. So, good king, take city. But he's like, oof, some of these animals are like pretty good. And the king here make good ransom bait. Let's keep those. Well, God was not having that. So he sent someone to school the king and kill those things. It was absolute. So he tried to choose otherwise, but was not allowed, was punished for that choice. So he doesn't get to spend eternity in heaven because of his free will.
It's weird. Why didn't God just make all the people there just kill themselves? Right?
He's all powerful, I know, but
or have them all just suddenly choose to just leave.
Yeah, that's a better option.
That seems more benevolent.
Of the things that in Judaism, when you start your war and you're attacking a city, you give them options. You give them choices. 1, you surrender and we take you into captivity. 2, we come in, we kill you all. Your choice. Feel free.
Take your pick.
Yeah, totally fair. We don't always level and raise cities. We just
and then God just hardens their hearts and they just stay put.
Yep, there it is.
Right. Or God shows them a softer way and they all choose to be taken. either way, God is right because
Well,
they did what God told them to do.
God means good, literally.
Oh yeah. No way.
So every action.
No.
Yeah.
Yahweh.
That's my favorite phone company. Never mind.
What way?
Yeah. So that was a thing that just it. So
moral infallibility could be an example of the victor writes the history.
Definitely.
Right. This is a post hoc justification for my actions is I am following the plan. And obviously I'm following the plan because it worked.
And not only that, I will be rewarded for following the plan. So is it more than free will? Is it free will if you're being incentivized? Like,
well,
you get this choice.
My research ethics board says no.
Stupid ethics boards. I'm not allowed human experiments or whatever.
Yeah,
because apparently even if I have willing donors, I'm not allowed to try and make photosynthetic people. Just kill them or whatever.
Yeah, and yet people just use underground science to make glow-in-the-dark rabbits.
Yep.
So, and that's a thing.
But very unethical.
Yep. Yeah,
I mean,
potentially.
The rabbit did not have a choice.
Or trying to do sociological interviews with prostitutes who are addicted to drugs by offering them one hit of their drug if they will do the interview.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That people have done that.
I don't see the problem with that.
Because
here's $100 for the interview. Don't spend it on drugs.
Yep, but that is actually the exact same problem. But that is not giving them a fair and free choice.
Exactly. So it's double worse then for those in the heaven or hell carrot stick dilemmas, because not only is there a large scale deterrent for the choice, your choice has also been incentivized at the other end. Right? Like not only are you potentially getting infinite penalty for a finite crime, but the other choice is infinite reward for a finite good deed.
Okay, so suppose I do the thing, and I end up in the good place. Sure, that's fine. I still have the option to do something terrible and get out.
Yes,
but I won't.
But you wouldn't make that choice.
So would it be commensurate to say that if I end up in the bad place, I could make some choices there to get out? But I won't?
In some schools, yes. But unfortunately, most of those schools claim that you wouldn't.
All right.
And the only reason you could be is because you were born of a woman, like you're a child of Adam and Eve. So you are forgivable. So that same offering is not for Satan, right? He crossed God. He doesn't get another chance. All of humanity gets the next chance.
So I could maybe get out.
You could maybe get out.
But I won't, because I've already chosen badly once. I will always choose badly.
I have heard so many versions of the hell, because we try to make it nicer in the modern era. We don't want to think about, oh, I go to heaven and I get to watch everyone else suffer forever. And I'm looking forward to it.
That sounds fun.
I'm looking forward to it because heaven's awesome.
Sad as much.
So, I mean, I'm not the one that made the torture place for...
They don't call it Marquis to happy.
Yeah, that's right. He's sad. Fun. That's fun. So, but like, there's this... so eternal conscious torment is on the wane.
Aww.
I know. So more of it's an eternal separation from God. That is your punishment, is because God is all
That's
love
my
and
reward?
all good. Yeah, I know. Because infinite worship seems worse than infinite torture.
Maybe.
They're the same. So yes, to not always, it's not always a suffering. It's just there's no getting back to God, and that's your punishment. Annihilationism is common these days too. Like when you die, if you were good, you go to heaven. If you were bad, you're dead. Like original Old Testament.
Permadeath.
Like original Old Testament death.
Oh.
If you were
what
good,
goes around comes around.
If you were good, when everyone is risen, you will be one of the risen. If you were bad, you just stay dead.
All right. Well,
that's
you
original.
know what?
That's original Bible stuff.
Yeah, and
right there.
I can see where if you're really in love with the idea of being alive and conscious and all that sort of stuff, where in the absence of all other things, that might be like, oh yeah. But you know, if you live a really, really if life is really terrible to you while you're living, the thought of being nothing is actually quite appealing, and so people will off themselves or whatever, and then we start losing followers, and it's very hard to tax dead people. So
we make unaliving ourselves illegal.
Oh yeah,
we take away that choice.
Well, no, we just punish attempts at that choice.
we incentivize not making that choice.
Exactly, and that's sure we'll do that. Interesting sidebar on hell. It was the observation that generally speaking, the temperature of hell is directly proportional to the temperature where you live.
The worst climate of the place you live.
Yeah. Like so if you live in frozen land, hell is uber frozen.
Yes.
If you live in hot land, hell is uber hot. So if you live in England, hell is just like rain, like just torrential rain always, and must
live drenched and musty,
and perpetually 3 degrees, 3 degrees Celsius,
and no wool clothes.
Yeah, just cotton.
Yeah,
really absorbent, but not very.
Yeah, everything's terry towel. Welcome to England.
Terrence towel, because it's very formal there.
That's right. Yes, I don't pay bills. I pay Williams. They're big enough.
All right. So, is the problem with this whole notion of the free will and being able to choose our awareness of the choice? I realize this is like one of the Adam and Eve stories.
Yeah,
there's a few.
There's handfuls.
There's a couple in the Genesis book of the Bible.
Yeah, there's a couple. There's a
just
Genesis
like right
one and
there.
a Genesis 2.
And they're just a couple of stories about where we started, and everybody just sort of forgets that they're the different tellings of the same story, slightly sort of, but with different.
Definitely, there's a borrowing from cultures in the area that goes on,
and there are other.
I don't ever want to. It's not stealing. They didn't steal the idea.
Well, no, because the idea still remains with the other person. They copied it. They extended it.
They played with the motif.
Yeah.
The Epic of Gilgamesh, pretty impressive story.
Yeah.
Been around a while. It was
DJ Genesis.
if it's in the
sampling the greatest hits of the day, right?
Kinda. And
DJ Deuteronomy.
But so well written, that's grand.
That's better.
Right on. DJ Deuteronomy. Oh my god, an MC Moses. So
laying down the laws.
That's what MC Escher. Sorry. There is no flow.
There is no drop.
It's just the stairs all the way up.
The stairs just keep always going up, yeah.
Just HOTTOGO. Doesn't keep a consistent tempo through the song.
HOTTOGO.
It's gonna break your brain. Clap along.
No.
Clap along, everybody. You'll hurt yourself.
No.
Because there's a tempo change at the start and the end.
Perfect. I love those.
Yeah. Thank you.
We made it halfway.
We made it halfway.
So,
did we?
Drink. For those of you not playing the home game, every time we go off track, we encourage you to drink. It makes us feel funnier.
That's right. If you're drinking, we're better.
It could be coffee. That would also be fine. Or don't play our game, and that's fine. The choice is up to you. It's a free choice.
Dish full of bonbons.
Ooh. Dish of bonbons. Yeah. So this is How Did You Get There?
It's a crazy little show we do.
It's where we hold the discussions and are critical of thoughts, ideas, opinions, and beliefs, and try not to be too critical of the people who hold them.
Oops, sorry, theologians.
It's us, not you, not Jess. Just us.
Tune in fortnightly. 2000 hours Universal Time.
Nice. All right.
Or
in this
1300
universe
hours Mountain Time.
Yeah, I'll figure out what it is in Swatch Beats for next time.
That would be great.
Right, because that's Universal Time, but 0 is in Switzerland.
Yeah.
Instead of
France.
England. Greenwich, England.
Or France.
It's
the same line.
Yeah, but there's a tower specifically for this purpose in Greenwich. I've been there. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I chose to go.
Did you?
Yeah.
Was it a thing that was there and it pervaded your mind? Was it part of a bigger plan?
I don't know.
Were you touristing in the area and like part of the plan was look at this?
Well, it wasn't my plan because I was on a tour. I chose to go on the tour. The tour included all these things.
So you kind of
I made the choice.
So
I'd like to go. I don't care what I do when I get there. Somebody else can pick that part, but I made the choice to let somebody else choose the rest of it.
I don't care what the plan is. If the plan is wing it, you better be freaking winging it. As soon as you say, "Hey, we have to be done by this time."
Yeah, though this I was 12.
Oh yeah.
Right. And we went and we did all kinds of things. I was the target of a IRA bomb threat, so that was kind of fun.
You personally, or just
us and our organization in our building? Yeah,
for sure.
Because we were a paramilitary organization from Canada.
Yes,
a foreign paramilitary organization, staying in the YMCA in Portsmouth.
Deadly 11-year-olds everywhere.
And yeah, so it was really exciting when the fire alarms went off, and a very angry, red-headed Chief Petty Officer, Royal Navy, was yelling at us to get out, get on the buses, go now. And then for those who did not actually put on shoes when they left, they also got a dressing down for not having shoes by their bed in case they ever had to get out of a building or something. I always have shoes by my bed now.
That's for sure.
That guy was scary. So I chose to leave the building. I didn't really have much of a choice, like get out or we were going to yank you out.
You could have stayed.
Nope, they would have yanked me out.
But you could have chosen.
I could have chosen to stay successfully or otherwise. My choice was to stay. It was just unfulfilled.
Gotcha.
All right. Yeah.
I like that. The unfulfilled choices we wanted to make.
I made a choice, but I could not make it happen.
Without saying undetermined, what would you think the opposite of determined is? In our word.
Do you mean determined as in like?
There are
as in
ways...
like in advance somebody has said you're going to do this thing, like it has been determined, or do you mean that I have?
There are two kinds of outcome I'm going to posit.
Okay.
One is determined, the other is not. What is that is not?
Arbitrary.
Very good.
Sure, let's go with the arbitrary for now.
Even random.
I
mean, I don't mean firing arrows up at 45 degrees. I just mean.
Colloquially, we would say random.
Very good.
I would not say random.
No, I would say you have a different meaning yet beyond normal meanings of random.
Yeah. So random is truly unpredictable.
Yes. Yeah.
Which we can add to that sort of panoply of words. Stochastic.
Yes.
Which is a kind-ish of random-ish, but it's random within a distribution.
Yeah.
So
but I think
it's predictable within the distribution.
But if we're like to just parse it out in colloquial speech, things are either determined, basically, or random.
Sure.
Is there any potential for spectrum in there?
Well, I think there's a potentiometer on this thing where determined would be the equivalent of off.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything that is not off is some amount of undetermined, some amount of arbitrary, some amount of random. That's why I don't like random. I think random is or isn't a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So things happen in a determined. So
right.
If you're
so
saying
it's either determined or unpredictable.
Yeah, determined is, I think in the use that we're putting it here, determined is to say
there is
that we have this is what's going to happen,
mm-hmm.
and random is there is no way to know what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going for.
Okay.
You either know the outcome because you've been told, or
You could know the outcome.
Well, I'm going to go with, for the example,
Okay.
you know because that outcome is determined. You know the outcome is determined. You don't know what that outcome is, but you know that the outcome is determined.
Yeah.
Or that outcome is undeterminable.
Yeah.
Right? I was trying to steer away from undeterminable, but it works really well. Because it cannot be determined. Even if you were fully aware of all of the things about it, you still couldn't determine, right? The answer is not determined. So it's even either of those things to me, though, do not leave me much room for will. Even if we say arbitrary, right? The choices outcomes are going to be either determined or arbitrary. Neither of those.
So I think it depends. I think we have a problem in definitions. I don't mean to go all Jordan Peterson here.
What do you mean by I don't mean to? No, I mean. What do you mean when you say mean?
Whack. So to say that something is determined, is it determined in advance?
Mm-hmm. I.e. fate.
Or is it determined post hoc?
No, in advance. It's a fate thing. I'm calculating fate, God's plan. God has a plan.
Right.
God knows all, so he already knows what the outcome is.
So let us call it hard causality.
Okay. Sure.
Now whether it is natural or supernaturally incited, everything is a causal chain.
Okay.
Right? That's what you mean by determined.
Yes.
Right? Doesn't matter what I think I'm choosing.
No, there's
my illusion of free will is just that. Everything I do has an outcome, and I couldn't have chosen otherwise because it's headed for that outcome.
Yes.
Determined. Right. And then somewhere on the other end is zero causality.
Mm-hmm.
Things just happen.
Random. Just happen.
They are. Everything is acausal.
Yeah, it just can happen.
Yep. And
not everything does happen.
No, but
anything could.
Anything. So I push a button, and 2 incoming missiles turn variously into a sperm whale and a pot of petunias, which go plummeting towards the ground.
Round. Oh no, not again.
Right? Completely acausal. There is no precedent for that ever happening, and there is no reason why it couldn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I think that gives us a spectrum. Somewhere, and I think we're somewhere in between. And I think probably we live in a universe that is closer to causal than acausal. We don't see a lot of things just happening without any priors, or without any prep, or without any lead up.
Correct.
So general causality, I think, is probably a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I had a thought this morning as I was mixing up numbers, cutting a board.
I
wanted
cutting, and it's still too short.
I wanted an 87.5-inch board, and I got a 78.5-inch board.
Oof.
That's okay. We'll use it for something else.
I was like, the other way around would have been okay.
This will be fine too. I can cut it into 2 smaller boards because I'm going to need those as well. Not the point of what I was saying. Oh, but I got to thinking, is Brownian motion actually random? We can't determine.
Just because
I can't determine the path of every molecule in an excited state, or in an excited state in a space, doesn't mean that it can't be done. It just means I can't do it. So is it truly random?
Like proton
could you
decay.
know? Is that random? Or is it just something I can't know?
We have not found the mechanism by which to record its predictability.
I can't yet know.
Yeah.
to date, I do not know exactly when any one particular atom of radium will decay. I know on average,
Yeah, we call that the half-life.
the half-life,
Yeah.
right? So half of it decays in a certain amount of time.
But we couldn't tell you which one's going to do it.
But I can't point at one and go, this one's going to go right now. Can't do that.
But to us, it is apparently random
Yep.
in a predictable framework.
Yeah. It is stochastic decay.
Yeah. Lead. Anyway, because that's what happens. That's what you get.
Eventually, yeah. I mean, even technically everything probably has a half-life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just longer than we could ever reasonably statistically measure.
Yes. Yeah, and that's...
Like, I'm assuming hydrogen does not have a half-life. I don't know why I assume that, but I do. Right?
By that measure, maybe also helium and potentially lithium.
Maybe.
Because those are like constituent components of the earliest things we can think of as things in our universe.
Yeah, but if helium falls apart, like it takes a tremendous amount of energy to make helium fall apart. But if helium falls apart, you get hydrogen.
Mm-hmm. If hydrogen falls apart, you get the death of the universe.
Yeah, but if one molecule of hydrogen falls apart, one atom of hydrogen falls apart, it releases a tremendous amount of energy. But it's not the end of everything.
No,
It's just one thing. And maybe that happens once spontaneously every 80 billion years.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know. We just haven't seen one.
That's right. That's right.
Right. But let's go with something we could see, like plutonium or radium or
even more advanced ones that we know for sure will die off in the next like 10 minutes as soon as you
Francium.
make it. Yeah.
francium goes away pretty quick.
Yeah. And we can kind of predict, but we still couldn't tell you which atom of francium is going away. Actually, you could build an atom of francium.
Yep.
And then say it should last this long.
On average,
Yep.
like if I had 1 million of these things, on average, they'll be gone in this amount of time.
Mhm.
I've made one. It's going to take that long, or more, or less, and
Yep.
I don't know.
Right.
I mean,
But
there
could be a prediction factor that we are not privy to at this time. We,
Yeah.
humanity.
Yeah, so maybe that's where God does all the poking and prodding of how the universe works, is in those kinds of half-life Brownian motion things that we can't see how it's done. It's magic.
I mean, if it was really magic, if I really wanted to be impressed with God and his capabilities, all of it would be so obvious that the entire universe is just terrible for us, that this planet is just terrible for us, but yet we're here. Now that would be a miracle. I would be impressed. That'd be great evidence.
Yeah, I don't know.
But a finely tuned universe that seems to be
the Goldilocks universe.
yeah, or Puddle, right? I'm Puddle. This hole is perfect.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's perfect because I'm adapted to living here.
Yeah.
Right. And so, if Brownian motion isn't actually random, and I don't know how you'd prove that. I don't know how you'd prove.
How do you prove it is, right?
Well, we can demonstrate
That it is apparently random
That-
to our
that it is-
perceptive capabilities.
that to our perceptions there is no predictable nature to Brownian motion.
I'm okay with that.
And I'm not a physicist, so I may have misspoken on this, but I'm pretty certain that's how that goes, right? And that's okay. Or lava lamps,
Yeah, yeah, sure.
cloud flare, or whichever.
Chaos theory, right? Like if you take your hourglass full of sand,
Yep.
you'll never get the same hour. Never.
Right.
Right?
It'll be close.
Yeah.
Close.
It's
And
going
depending
to
on
be
the-
an hour no matter which. Like if you let it go for an hour, it'll be an hour. But that pile inside is
Never going to be identical.
Never.
Or is highly unlikely to ever be identical.
It's the chaos theory of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's where Brownian motion might fit into that chaos theory. Like,
I mean, the liquid isn't going to just like randomly shift through the glass,
no, yeah.
but the liquid will, the molecules in the liquid will move around in some kind of
The lava lamp.
mostly.
Fire.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Your campfire. You'll never have the same campfire twice.
and I guarantee you that I strongly suggest that that every lick of flame that you see could only have licked that way in a fully causal universe.
Mhm.
Right? It doesn't like just everything that has ever happened to that point in the universe represents the totality of inputs for causality to make that flame lick that way that one time. In a strictly causal sense. But if anything is random, maybe it could have, not chosen, but could have, for some arbitrary, undetermined, random reason, flicked left or right. And that's the thing. This, you know, every as time ticks in the computer that is the universe, the universe flips a coin and says, "Hey, is it time for this one to go?" Now roll a 20-sided die.
We're about 2 minutes past midnight on the clock that is the universe.
Cool.
Yeah.
So we just started the day?
Kinda.
Nice.
Like in terms of how long, if we were to break down the expected life expectancy of the universe. Life expectancy. Yeah.
That's nice.
We're at about 2 minutes after midnight.
Nice.
Yeah. So there's a lot of universe time left, which is always one of my Fermi paradox answers. We're not the only intelligent species. Just the other ones haven't, evolved yet.
Or they did.
Or they've been and gone.
Or they did and they can't get to us. Or they...
Oof, yeah, I mean, universally speaking, can't get to us.
Or they did and they're afraid that the other people are more advanced than them already and don't want to draw attention.
Black Forest.
Or, right, like just or.
But to me, I think our biggest obstacle is time in terms of running into other things out in the intelligent lives.
Yeah.
I think scale of time.
Yeah.
Turns out though, the K-type stars probably a better choice for finding life. Just like cool. our little G-type star, not the best choice. M-type's really bad choice.
Yeah.
Red dwarf's bad.
Well, except for the TV show.
Yeah. But you have to be really close and they flare lots.
Which is good bad.
Bad for planets. Yeah. Bad for atmospheres.
All right, so there was a thought I had sort of at the halfway point. It was about free will, and if the thing is not so much that that we do have free will, is that if we do, is that we know that we are making choices, or it feels like we are making choices, and how important is that feeling that we have control?
To me, terribly. Like this is my whole problem. I cannot convince myself that I have free will.
Yeah, that's going to be a challenge,
right?
I mean,
but like if I had free will, then it should be really easy for me to convince myself of this.
Oh, it just hasn't been determined enough for you to be able to do that.
I see. Yeah.
Well, and I think this is where I got to in the reductionist thing that got me to Brownian motion, was I think at a macroscopic level, our illusion of free will is close enough to free will.
Yeah.
Like at a macroscopic level.
Favorite color.
Yeah, I don't know why I prefer this. Well, and it's obvious. Obviously, I prefer this, and I could choose chocolate, or I could choose vanilla, or I could choose licorice. Right, I could.
Tiger.
Tiger. Right. So those are choices I could make, and not every day will I pick vanilla, which is actually one of my favorite flavors. It's not plain.
No.
Plain ice cream is not all that interesting.
No.
Vanilla ice cream can be tremendously interesting. But I choose it, and I choose it to my best knowledge, freely. But the choice is made freely, and if Burian's ass, you put the donkey the hungry donkey between equally distant from two piles of hay, it in theory it will starve to death because it cannot choose.
Yes,
but you know what? It's just going to choose one.
It is just,
and it doesn't matter. Maybe the wind blows just a little tiny bit. Maybe some other.
It's used to getting up and turning right for food in the first place.
Yeah.
Now
there's habituation that plays into it.
Yeah.
There's all of these things that, and people on the outside observers will say, "Oh, the donkey chose the pile on the right," and then jump through all kinds of hoops to try and figure out why. And there may not actually be a reason why. It could be random, right? It could be some Brownian motion, something somewhere, nudged the universe just enough at just the right moment that one electron fired and he turned right? So I chose this, and I had weighed the pros and cons, and I think that has to do with like future planning, imagination kinds of things, where if I'm choosing vanilla ice cream, the reason I am choosing vanilla ice cream is I have some priors that say vanilla ice cream makes me feel this way. I have experienced these feelings. I will to have those feelings again. What actions can I take now to fulfill my will for those feelings? Right? So I get to choose the actions. Free will is I have imagined something in the future that I want to be true for me, and then I take the actions, and then I make a choice to do those things. Right? So I think I'm free to imagine things, and that's probably our Brownian emotion in our brains and his imagination. It's constrained maybe by the teacup.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm a bathtub guy, but I get what you're saying.
I picked teacup to go back to the finite improbability generator.
True.
And so whatever that thing is, if I put Epsom salts in the bathtub, I get a different flow than if I don't, right? Because it's different water, it's different conditions. But still, the turbulence, the self-heating, cooling Brownian motion in the bathtub changes, but it's still Brownian.
Yeah. I was thinking more of the determination is the bathtub, right?
Yeah.
There's a set of things since the expansion of the universe that's put these bathtubs in place.
Yep.
And then I get whatever I can think of to put in that bathtub. But I'm still constrained by the bathtub, right? So it's the same as I can't choose to have wings. So that's a bathtub moment, right? Like I would choose to have wings if I could, but the bathtub says no, right?
Right. But
so I can only put in, right?
Yeah. So you can actually expand your bathtub.
Oh, I could.
Right. So you could build an airplane.
True.
I can't have wings, but I can have the next best thing.
I can do a thing that's like that.
I can do a thing that's like that.
Yeah.
I wish I could fly, because I've seen birds and they have wings and they can fly, but I don't have wings. How can I still fly?
I strap things that look like
wings to my arms,
flap really hard,
and then I get too close to the sun and the wax melts.
That's what happens every time.
Right. So exactly, and that's so. I think that the free will part is probably not as illusory as hard causalists will say it is.
Yeah.
But I think that it is never going to be. It will not be arbitrarily free. You cannot choose everything.
Right.
But I think that it is. I think that it is free enough, in the sense that I can take some prior experiences, I can take some current data, and I can make a choice based on those things, but also based on choosing a future state, and then the choice is that my brain will fill in the gap and say, what actions do I need to take now in order to move to, based on these priors, give me this future state.
Yeah.
And I kind of frame that in that way because the second half of what you suggested we might talk about today was,
is it important?
Is it important, and is it important for everything that makes any kind of decision?
Like if we think living things like ourselves have free will, why would we want to limit that on other things? Right?
Yeah.
I have a pet. That pet sometimes wants to go outside. I won't let it sometimes.
Yep.
It has a choice. It's making the choice to go outside. It is prohibited from that choice, right?
Yeah. But still can choose it and is thwarted. Like I can choose to, like my choice is to go grocery shopping, and I could get hit by a car.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I freely chose to go grocery shopping,
the choice.
but the universe said nope.
Nope. That is not a choice you could make.
No,
You made the choice.
I made the choice. I would, but
that is not a choice you can complete.
I can't complete that choice, right?
So then
I've made the choice, which is
choice making
based on all of this history, based on a future state, a desired future state, or a future state that fulfills in the same way as previous states did. Actions that I would take now to bridge that gap.
Likewise, the what we call the school of hard knocks. Oh, that sucked. I will try to choose to never do that.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that to that degree we have choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you had suggested, well, what about AI?
Yeah.
So suppose we're building artificial general intelligence. Should we allow it to do the same kind of, or have the same illusory free will that we have?
Should it be allowed to make choices from a non-random thing, right? Like, so it's constrained. I can't grow wings. It can't grow wings.
Right.
But it could be there. I wish I could fly. It designs its own airplane.
Yeah, and it's already being a stochastic idiot right now. That's a phrase that other people have invented, not me. Where based on all these priors, I will make some decisions now, and it will. And in the case of evenly weighted, it will choose some pseudo-random number generator to choose between two equally weighted priors to create something now. But it has no future planning. It's not saying, I want to paint a one of these as much as we think it does. Like
I get what you're saying. Yeah,
we have targets, and what it does is it will try and work towards those targets. But we've provided the targets. It has not provided its own targets.
So that would be a good marker for
that. Might be a good marker for that.
Cool.
I think it requires some self-reflection and some consciousness of some kind, whatever that means. And we don't have time to do that in a minute.
No, that's true.
I don't think we have time to do that in
seconds.
Yeah, in many days. So we'll be back in a fortnight to discuss something else interesting.
I hope so. Maybe get a hold of Rachel in the meantime. I got her number this time.
Huzzah!
Yeah,
that'll be an excellent. I think that'll be an excellent conversation.
Yeah. Clever young lady.
Again, I'm Stephen.
I'm Jeff.
And this has been How Did You Get There? Thanks to Jess and Jess FM.